It's been 5 days since the country declared a war against the militant group Hamas, that's Israel. Since Hamas's attack on Israel over the weekend, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has spoken with the American President Joe Biden for a fourth time. During the phone call, the Israeli Prime Minister thanked Biden for his powerful words of support following their previous conversation yesterday. Moreover, earlier, US President Joe Biden held nothing back on the attack carried out by Hamas. As he took the podium in an emotional speech, Biden denounced the Hamas attack, vowing to stand by Israel. Over the course of 10 minutes, Biden called the strike on Israel pure, unadulterated evil, sheer evil, and indiscriminate evil.
We stand with Israel.
Biden even said the militant group had carried out atrocities, including murders of entire families and rape of women.
You know, there are moments in this life, and I mean this literally, when the pure, unadulterated evil is unleashed on this world. The people of Israel lived through one such moment this weekend. The bloody hands of the terrorist organization Hamas, a group whose stated purpose for being is to kill Jews. This was an act of sheer evil. More than 1,000 civilians slaughtered, not just killed, slaughtered in Israel.
Biden's remarks were his clearest show of support for Israel, yet as the death toll surged above 1,200, Gaza officials have also reported over 1,000 people killed in Israeli airstrikes. Biden also confirmed that at least 14 Americans died in the surprise attacks on Saturday, and a number had been taken captive by Hamas. As fears grow of a regional conflict, Biden was equally direct about its long-term for Iran. Tehran backs Hamas as well as the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah. The US president said, and I quote, "To any country, any organization, anyone thinking of taking advantage of this situation, I have one word: do not." The United States has assured assistance for Israel, including missiles for its Iron Dome interceptor system. Washington has ordered its largest aircraft carrier to move closer to Israel. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says US was deploying hostage experts to Israel to help, but not currently sending forces to Israel. Sullivan added that the US is talking to Israel and Egypt about safe passage for Gaza civilians. As per NBC report, Biden urged Netanyahu to minimize civilian casualties in the Gaza Strip. Moreover, there are questions being raised on whether any country can broker a ceasefire between the two sides. If yes, then who? The American State Department has said Anthony Blinken would be visiting Israel to show solidarity and support. Can he broker some kind of deal between the two sides? We're now being joined by our correspondent Susan Teherani from the United Nations headquarters in New York. Susan Teherani, good to see you. We are expecting Anthony Blinken to visit Israel, and there's a likelihood that a ceasefire could be brokered. Have you had this conversation, and what can you tell us about that?
We do know that Anthony Blinken, according to the State Department, is going to Israel to give Israel, once again, assurance of America's unwavering support. And remember, we do now know through President Biden that there are American hostages in Hamas captivity. The issue of a ceasefire is very sensitive, notably for the Israelis, considering the fact that it will be some kind of negotiation with a group that they consider to be terrorists. The United States has Hamas on its terrorist list for years. So the word ceasefire is very testy, if you may. We'll see if some kind of negotiated settlement can ultimately be done. But it's important to note that Anthony Blinken is also going to be visiting Jordan as well. And while Jordan gave a somewhat lackluster statement immediately after Hamas's attack against Israel recently, just a few hours ago, the King of Jordan said that there won't be peace in the Middle East or stability in the Middle East region without a Palestinian state. So we'll have to see what those conversations between Anthony Blinken and the King of Jordan and other officials in Jordan will also entail. That's very important as well. Of course, I'm here at the United Nations headquarters. We just heard from UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres a few minutes ago. He called on all leaders in the region to be mindful that this war does not spill over to other countries. He also said he's calling on the leaders who are involved in this conflict and those who have influence over the warring sides to make sure that there is no spillover. He directly called for the immediate release of Israeli and American hostages by Hamas in Palestine. He also said that any issue that's being resolved right now should abide by international humanitarian law and norms, and said that UN staff have been on the ground helping some 200,000 Palestinians. Some of them paid the ultimate price. He also called for food and water to be allowed into Gaza immediately.
Susan, I was just about to ask you what the latest is from the United Nations, but you've said it there. I forgot to ask you about the call between President Joe Biden and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. What more do we know about that? Very quickly.
Yeah, Eric, thanks so much for bringing that up. The conversation was brief. It was short. The Israeli Prime Minister thanked President Biden for his unwavering support, notably during that address yesterday. He also talked about recent Hamas attacks and activities against Israel as well.
All right. Susan Teherani, live at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Susan, thank you. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.